Thank you for being a friend. Hey there, this is your pal Pallie, and welcome back to Overrated. This is episode number 12, and I'm not going to do the finger thing anymore. Burnt out on that. But, anywho, today we are going to talk about a lot of things. Most primarily, we're going to talk Warlords of Draenor gear and raids and dungeons and lots of announcements and stuff. Please stick through to the end. I've got a number of cool announcements about Overrated, raid guides, and all that other jazz. But for now, let's get into lots of Warlords of Draenor information. So, what have we learned? Lots! Yay! It's good to see some information flowing from Blizzard. A lot of it's coming from press sites, getting to play the beta or getting to interview devs, which kind of signals to me getting closer to beta. Let's do it. Let's do it. But what have we learned? Lots of things. There's cool information about garrisons and models and art and other stuff. But what I would like to focus on is that PvP aspect and gear and all that other fun stuff. So, let's talk that. One of the primary things that is interesting to me is that, unlike Mists of Pandaria, we're going to have a bunch of normal mode level 100 dungeons. So, that's cool. And then you're also going to have the heroic versions of those dungeons, as we always have. Difficulty-wise, normal mode dungeons are going to be as easy as current dungeons that we have like right now in Mists. And heroic dungeons are going to be a little higher in difficulty, but not the Cataclysm Grim Batal on launch type crap. I mean, it was interesting. A lot of people liked how that all flowed. But I remember like hitting level 85 and trying to get, and like my first dungeon was Grim Batal. 3 hours later, I think I downed 3 of the bosses. So that was a little too much for random group stuff. But I think they said it's going to be somewhere in between for heroic dungeons. There's some stuff about challenge mode dungeons, about being able to get a piece of epic gear from doing challenge modes initially. But anywho, besides the point, we're going to have normal mode dungeons, we're going to have heroic, and then we're going to have the raid tier. So when we get to the raid tier in a second. But first off, one item to note about gearing up in Warlords is that you're going to have, or at least I hope you get the chance to have, one of the BOA heirloom weapons from Garrosh, killing it in Flex, in normal, or heroic right now. So, what I found interesting about that is that they said the heroic version is obviously going to be more powerful for you as you're leveling up, and you'll keep it all the way until the end. But the Flex and the normal mode will be a little less powerful, of course. But once they all get to level 100, it sounds like they're all going to end up at the same item level, the same power. So that's interesting. And they also said that the power of it is going to be like a dungeon blue. So, get back to that in a second. But, anywho, I like the heirloom thing. It's kind of like a little bonus for finishing off the content, all that kind of stuff. I've got a ton of them. I'm sorry, I know some people don't have any yet. But I've gotten 6. I'm sorry. I have that many, yeah. Probably not going to get too many more because we're not, in my new raiding guild, we're not like farming Garrosh every week. We're working on the last bosses and stuff, which, some announcements later. Stay tuned. But, anywho, I've got a normal mode version. I would love to get a heroic one at the end of this if I can kill Garrosh on heroic. So let's go team. But anywho, those weapons are going to be useful, and it's really a kind of cool bonus for finishing off the tier and doing the content. So, like that, and like how it's going to end up being the same power once we're done and once we're at level 100. So, what's next? Well, once you hit level 100, you have sort of 2 options of how to gear up quickly. And you're probably going to do both, and you're going to do as much as you can if you're pretty serious about rating. I'm not talking top 1%, but, top whatever. Everyone 50%, whoever does rating. I don't know, I'm making up numbers, but anywho, you have two options. One is to go to the normal mode dungeons and get gear from that, which apparently will gear you up enough to go into LFR, or you can go into heroic dungeons, and that gears you for the new normal mode of the raids, the new raid tiers. So, quick review. Remember, in Warlords, normal mode is going to be tuned just like flex mode Siege of Orgrimmar is. Heroic in Warlords is going to be like normal mode is right now in Siege. And then Mythic is going to be the new Heroic. There. Hope you got that straight. Because it's gonna be confusing when I talk about Mythic, Heroic, blah, 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 if you don't have it straight as to which one I'm talking about. And I'll try to make it clear, of course. So, normal dungeon gear gets you into LFR. Heroic dungeon gear gets you into normal mode raid. Okay. So, week 1, you can jump in there and get into normal and heroic versions of the raid. And we'll talk about, there's going to be two different raids, and we'll talk about that item level crap in a second. But you can hop into normal mode, you can hop into heroic. If you down heroic in the first week, you should be able to get into mythic and go have fun. I don't know if I'll be in mythic that quickly. We'll see. We'll see how it ends up. Anywho, I always like to level very quickly, and some announcements later as well about that stuff. Ooh. There's a hint. It's going to be some cool stuff streaming-wise. We'll get there. But, anywho, back to the raid tiers. So, let's go through a little item level example and talk about what the gear level is going to look like and what you will want to do per raid tier, per whatever item level. So, let's assume that your heirloom weapons end up as normal mode dungeon gear. I'm thinking that's dungeon blues as to what they're talking about. So, and let's make it a nice even number, make it level 200. Item level 200. When you are level 100, your BOA weapon is going to be level 200. If you go into normal mode dungeons, you're going to get level 200 gear. Cool. Heroic dungeons. I don't know if they're going to scale stuff up like a lot, but let's go with the 13 level item level jump between stuff and say that's how this is going to roll. So, heroic dungeons, which are going to be a bit more challenging, will give you, say, item level 213 gear. Cool. Okay. So, you can get yourself kitted out with 200 and 213 gear, running heroic dungeons, running normal mode dungeons, all that other jazz. So, where does LFR and all that other stuff fit into? Well, LFR is probably still going to be purple quality, epic stuff. It's probably still going to be better than heroic dungeon gear, but it sounds like you can run LFR with item level 200 gear. So, doing the 13 item level jump, that would mean LFR gear is 226. So, 200, 213, 226. Now, they've said, correlating the dungeons and the raids now, they said if you can get yourself kitted out in, I don't know why I keep saying kitted out. Am I British? Anywho. 213 gear from heroic dungeons is going to allow you to jump into normal mode raids in Warlords. Again, that's the old Flex Siege, new normal mode. So, LFR is 226. Normal mode is 239. Maybe. That'd be interesting. So, you roll into 213 with 213 gear, get some 239s, get yourself good to go. Heroic Warlords raids. If we keep going, actually I think we should go 12 item levels, because I think in 251 is where they end up with the mark. So Heroic Warlords gear is going to be 251. Again, that's like current normal mode siege gear. So Heroic Warlords of Draenor raid tier is 251. Cool. Then Mythic is going to be 264. Yes, 264. So, cool stuff. 200, 213, blah, 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 blah. Put a nice little list here on the side so I can review it and keep it here to the side, so you all know what you can all refer to it for the next little bit here. So, what are you going to want to do when you hit level 100? Like every expansion, like everything that's happened before, you're going to want to roll through dungeons, get yourself as much stuff as you possibly can. The choice right then is going to be, should you hop into normal mode raid tier or heroic raid tier? It sounds like, the top 1% are probably going to hop right into heroic and try to get through it so that they can get access to mythic the next week. But I don't know, maybe for a average guild, you're going to want to probably roll through all of normal mode or most of it, and then go start, heroic and see if you can get through it in the first couple weeks. We'll see. The other monkey wrench in this whole thing is that they're going to do what they said is they're going to roll out the 2 raids that are going to be in there at launch. They're going to roll it out just like they did Mogashan Vaults and Heart of Fear and Terrace. So, on launch, when we all log in to start leveling to level 100, there will be no raid available for the first week. After the first reset on Tuesday, we're going to have access to the High Mall raid. This one has 7 bosses, and we'll have all of the modes available. I would guess that you would have to kill all the High Mall bosses on heroic mode in order to get access to mythic. I think it's been said in the past that you don't have to kill normal in order to get to heroic. So anyway, we'll see how that rolls out. And again, they're all separate lockouts, so I don't know. Maybe you would have access to it all. I don't know. Interesting thing to confirm. Maybe I'll tweet about that, see if I can get an answer. Anywho, there's only going to be 7 bosses, and that's, a couple weeks of rolling through that on heroic and normal and doing some of the mythic pieces. And you get yourself quite a bit of 264 gear. Then they're going to release the next raid, which is going to be the 10 boss Blackrock Foundry raid instance. And it's going to be sort of, what they said is sort of winged. So there's going to be, say, 3 different areas that you could go to, kind of like Ice Crown. 3 bosses, 3 different wings, and then a final boss that you get access to once you've killed all the wings. So that's going to be interesting too. I kind of like that. They've talked about how that'll be a positive thing too. But what's going to be the gear level for Blackrock Foundry? If they do it in the same manner that they did it in Mists with Mogashan Vaults and Heart of Fear, then it's going to be that little like half tier type thing where it's just a little bit better than what would be High Mall at that point. So, if we work back to our item levels again, LFR for Blackrock would be 226. It'd be, say, 232 gear. Interesting. For Blackrock normal mode, that would be 232. That'd be 245 gear. It's DOC gear. No, sorry, I'm using. These are the item levels from wrath I've got them in my head a bit, to be able to focus on this a bit better. So that's why I'm using these, because it's a total example, totally made up. I have no idea if this is the item level it will end up at, but anywho, I can keep it straight in my head as to what the tiers are. So 245 gear for normal mode Blackrock Foundry. Heroic Blackrock Foundry would then be 258, 259, something like that. And then finally, the Mythic Blackrock Foundry gear would be 271. Cool. So, what are you going to want to... That's going to be the interesting part for a lot of guilds, is 17 bosses is a whole lot. Even with Siege of Orgrimmar, there are 14 bosses. That's taken guilds a long time to get through. At some point, there's going to need to be this decision point where people decide it's not worth us going through Mythic or even Heroic High Mall. We should just go over and do some of the easier bosses or the easier wing. I'm sure there's going to be an easier wing, and this one we can kill the first boss in this wing because he's easy, and then go on over to this wing and work on it. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of those decisions to be made, and that's going to be a real interesting sort of meta game going on during this raid tier. But it's going to be a real interesting decision point as to when you stop working on High Mall, Mythic or Heroic or whatever you're pushing for, and just go start working on Blackrock Foundry. Think about it now, because it's going to come up, and you're going to want to be ready for, hey, this is where we need to go. So, just thought it'd be interesting to lay out sort of the possible item levels and talk about the raid tiers based on the new information that we've gotten. We sort of figured this would be how it would go, but we're getting some more specific information. Cool stuff. What's next? Well, beta soon, please. It's feeling like we're getting there. And that leads me into my announcements and such. Beta soon, I hope. Hope I get in there and do lots of stuff. But the first big thing to note is that I'm getting a new setup, new computer pieces, parts, whatever. Should be coming in soon. Gonna build that all up, and what it's gonna mean is a couple things. One is I'm gonna have the ability to sort of crank this stuff out a bit quicker, just from raw processing power, but I am gonna have a better setup in terms of being able to stream, being able to sort of interact with the chat. Like, I have streamed before, but I haven't been able to interact with the chat room and go back and forth and talk to people and answer questions or any of that kind of stuff. So now I will. I should have that set up. I should have all that fun stuff. So if you want to get ahead on that and follow me on Twitch, do two things. One is follow me on Twitter, which is twitter.com/GatorRaid or @GatorRaid. And then the other thing is, if you want to subscribe to my channel on Twitch, again, it's not, maybe this coming Sunday, March, whatever, beginning of March, I might stream that raid Sunday night. We'll see. But anywho, if I can get it set up that quickly. But follow me on twitch.tv/GatorRaid for the raid streams there. That'll probably be, at least I hope it would be, progression on Paragon's Heroic. Yeah, let's hope. Because Siegecrafter Heroic, we just downed it last week. That's one of my other announcements, but it was really rough. 200 plus wipes for the guild, 87 or so for me. That video, and that goes to my next one, that video will probably take me a little extra time because I was put on the belt, and that's all you just see for 10 plus minutes is me on the belt, dodging lasers, shooting stuff, and then hopping off, and then hopping back on. It's just, yeah, I mean, I can't make a raid guide video out of just that. So I'm getting some help from my new guild. And they're going to get me some footage from other people's perspectives. And I even need to learn what exactly is happening on the platform because all I've been doing is the belt. So that one may take me a little bit longer, but cool stuff. It'll be there. Hopefully Paragons, it happens in a few weeks. It's pretty rough too from what we've seen so far. And then obviously Garrosh at the end. So go team. Really liking the new guild. I was sad to leave my old teams and, move on, but, appreciated all the support and stuff from people. I was actually recruited by Agathon from TankSpot into this new guild, so there's now 2 guys who who are associated with TankSpot who are in this now, so yay TankSpot, yay Internet Champions, which is the guild. So having fun there. We'll be streaming a lot more based on the new setup. I'm also working with some new programs. I actually taught myself or watched tutorials and whatnot to work with Lightworks, which is sort of a more in-depth video editor and such. It's not going to give me all the stuff I need to make lots of really fanciful raid guides, but even on this, right after this or soon after, I need to put together the achievement guide for Siege, part 2, which I promised for a month. Sorry. I've got everything now. I've got everything. It's on this thing right here. I'm going to do it. But I did some cool stuff, even if you just watch it for the first 20 seconds, I did some cool stuff with Lightworks to fancy it up a bit. So look for some little fancier stuff in the future. Learning more every day about it. It's probably not going to be my primary editor, but cool stuff. So that's fun. New setup, new guild, videos coming out. Meta achievement guide coming out. I'll do part 3, part 4. Get that out before I really want to get all of that cleared off so that I'm ready for Warlords information and Warlords guides and walkthroughs and play and all that other fun stuff. So time to clear the decks, get it ready, and off we go. So anywho, thanks for sticking around for all these announcements. Hopefully some of that excites you, some of that gets you going. Tell people about stuff. If there's stuff that you want to see from Warlords in specific, post a comment, send me a message on TankSpot or whatever, Twitter. And yeah, thanks guys for watching. It's Overrated number 12, and have a good one.